Let's go.
Hi, welcome to the December 2025 meeting of the former Commission on Energy Use and Climate Change, now the Interim Climate Action Commission. Uh, we're going to be meeting from now until 8:30-ish. And let's start with introductions. I'm Ramon Bueno. I'm a vice chair. Normally Larry runs the meetings. I'll be doing it today. Uh, I live in the Ward 2 in the Brick Bottom District, and I've been member of the commission for a number of years. I forget exactly. Welcome everyone. Uh, who would like to go next? Christine?
Hi, I'm Christine Blaze, Director of Office of Sustainability Environment and ex officio to the Commission, and I'll pass it to Kate.
Thanks. My name is Kate Crowley. I'm the staff liaison and I sit in the Office of Sustainability and Environment. I will pass it on to Courtney.
Hi, I'm Courtney Coslow. I live in Magoon Square in Winter Hill, Ward 5. And professionally, I develop large scale affordable housing. And I'll pass it to Jason.
Hi everyone, Jason Behrens. I'm an innovation specialist. I work out of the curriculum department with Somerville Public Schools. And one of the initiatives I've been working on is increasing our climate change education opportunities in and out of school time.
Glad to have you. Alexis?
I'm Alexis Washburn, a resident in Teal Square, Ward 7, also a member of the commission. And by day, I work in climate change related work at a nonprofit. And Eliza, have you gone yet?
I am gonna have to stay off video. I am in the car in the middle of schlepping kids, but I am stationary, so I am safe. My name is Eliza Johnston. I'm a Davis Square resident. By day, I work at a company called ICF, working at the intersection of economics and resiliency. And I think I'm the last one, so no one to pass it on to.
Thank you. It looks like from my screen here, that's all who is connected right now.
Ramon, we have two attendees, and you're invited to introduce yourself. We will give each of you the opportunity to come off of mute and introduce yourselves, but you don't have to. So first, Paul, if you'd like to go.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, nice to meet you all. I'm Paul Rhodes. I'm a Ward 6 resident between Davis and Ball Square. This is my first Climate Action Commission meeting that I'm finally being able to attend. I've tried in the past and I've been wanting to for a long time, so I'm excited to get to listen in. I can't stay for the whole time, but I'll listen in until like 7:30 or so.
Great. Welcome, and you're welcome every month to join in.
Thank you very much. I saw on previous minutes that there's like potential opening up the commission for more members. So I guess that's what I'm interested in. I work in energy policy, and that's a big in climate energy are big components of my life.
Well, then we're glad you're checking us out. Ralph? If you would like to introduce yourself briefly. If not, that's okay as well. Okay. All right. So we're ready to move into the meeting. Just very briefly, the meeting, we'll first go over the November meeting notes and just get to approval. Then there'll be a few areas of discussions. The first one will be a series of updates from the Office of Sustainability on 3 or 4 or 5 interesting programs and initiatives. I won't mention them now until we get to them. Then there'll be an update on the commission on by Jason Behrens regarding the climate work and the interest of several students. That'll be after that for another 20 minutes. After that, we'll touch on the outreach for commission positions. So that'll be a relevant discussion today. And then we'll touch on an update on the commission, the new website for the CAC. Currently, we're called the ICAC, Interim Climate Action Commission. At some point, we'll become the CAC and no more transition. And then after that, we'll go over the planning for 2026, the monthly meetings, the likely schedule. And for each one of these things, after each of the discussion topics, we'll open it up for public comments, if there are any, from the guests that are signing in. So with that, we should start by the November meeting minutes. Has everyone who needs to had a chance to look through the meetings? Oh, I see a hand raised by Alexis.
Yes, Ramona, I just had a question. We can do the approval of the November minutes, but I was wondering if we wanted to do the update and outreach about the open positions before Paul has to leave at 7:30. If it's okay, Christine, to go out of order on the agenda.
That makes sense. Is that
I
okay with you,
think so.
Christine?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
I had to remember. I was like, I think somebody mentioned something to me about this, but because we have people here that are interested in it, I think
Yeah.
that sounds good.
And one thing we didn't touch on is meeting notes, tonight's meeting.
I'm taking them, no worries.
Okay, great. All right. So back to the, just very quickly, so that we get it out of the way, the November meeting notes. I had a chance to read it and looked fine. It's anyone else? If everyone has seen it and there's no comments, does anyone want to put a motion for approval of the meetings?
It's Eliza.
I'll
Okay,
second.
all right. So if there's no other comments, everyone approving, voting for approving the meetings, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
So we're glad to get that out of the way. So then let's.
Oh, sorry, Ramon. I'm just going to note the time, 7:11, just for
That's
the
right.
record.
Right. So we started a few minutes before then. So yeah, let's go quickly to the outreach for the CIC positions. Would you like to frame it, Christine?
Sure, sure. So we sent the we've thank you all for providing your comments on the description for the several positions that we have open. We'll be publicizing 13 position openings. At least two of them are youth. One somebody that does business in Somerville, doesn't necessarily need to be a resident. And then we have a position for somebody who's a senior member of the community, and positions for folks in each different zip code in the city and more. So we're really excited to get that out there. The language right now is currently with the communications department. I know we were trying to get this out before the holidays, but it looks like just with the timing of everything, it probably won't work out that way. So I think we're looking to kind of hold this back until January, which is okay because we will need to get it translated anyways. The current policy with these is to post for 6 weeks to get translated into 6 languages, which takes about 2 or 3 weeks once the advertisement itself is approved by communications department. And then once it's posted, it will be live for 6 weeks, and then the interviews will begin, and then reviewed by the mayor's office before they're submitted to city council and go through the appointments committee. That's typically an evening meeting where folks that have been offered positions will get to talk a little bit about their experience and answer questions from any questions that the, council has. And then once they are appointed by the city council at a general meeting and their appointment is approved, then they'll take the requisite conflict of interest training, be sworn in, and then they will officially become members of the commission. So it looks like that, we're aiming for that process, particularly the translation process and then the posting process to start next year after the Wilson administration begins.
Sounds good. Do you have any questions? What was his name? Paul? No. I'm sorry, I got Paul, yes.
Yeah, and I should say too, for any members of the public joining, feel free to use the raise your hand feature, and then we can take you off mute too. After each item, we'll have an opportunity for public comment.
No questions here. Thank you, Christine. That was very thorough.
Thank you. Thanks for your interest.
You can review past public meeting notes that are posted on the websites. That's one way to get a sense of what's been going on. But you're welcome. And thanks, Alexis, you bringing it up to move this to the beginning. Very timely. Thanks. All right. If there are no further comments on this, so on the brief updates from the agenda, what we have is there'll be a brief update on the rental registry and the energy disclosure program, on network geothermal request for proposals, on the rental energy micro grant program, on climate ambassadors, and curbside food waste collection pilot. So we're going to spend about 10 minutes on this, and then we'll take public comments as well. So who is
That's
doing the
me
updates?
again.
Yes.
Yeah. So excited to say that we published the climate ambassadors openings for this year. And for any folks on the call too that are interested, Climate Ambassadors is an annual program that we offer for residents of Somerville, typically from high school age on. And we have, historically 25 spots a year. It's a hybrid style sort of convening between January and May every year. And the purpose is to learn about climate action, learn about how it's applied in Somerville, and then to kind of dig in a little bit to a topic that you're interested in and build community. And then at the end, we do a sort of a seminar of everybody gives, 3-minute presentations on what they learned. And there's a nice celebration. And we're growing a really robust network through that. It's a very it's a really kind of dedicated group and diverse group. So really excited to continue to grow that program. The applications closed on December 1st, and we, for the first time, received 40 applications for the program, which is the most we've ever received. And we're working to review applications and make selects. This class will again be 25 people, and orientation will be January 24th.
That's great. I mean, I'm a big fan of the fact that there's a growing cohort of ambassadors now. How many years has it been? How many years have we had the ambassadors program now? Like 4 or 5 at least?
Yeah, I think this is the 6th cohort.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, it creates, to the degree that many remain in the city of Somerville, it creates a real solid intermediary between OSC and the community. So it's fantastic. I'm glad to hear that. Any comments on that? All right. So then the next one is network geothermal requests for proposals, the pilots that are being considered.
Yeah, so we released an RFP or a request for proposals for a consultant to do two things. One, help the city determine the best financial, operational, and maintenance model for a pilot network geothermal system at one of the three sites that we have researched in the two previous studies. And then the second piece of it is to be a connection between us and uh, sort of folks working in the finance space. We're being told that folks are really interested in financing these systems, and we're looking to help to identify folks that can help us bridge those connections there. So we've received two applications for that, and we're going to be in the process of reviewing them. And Emily Sullivan, Climate Change Program Manager, Kathy Cole, our finance manager in our department, will be helping to review those.
Sounds great. Any comments from the other members of the panel?
Okay,
Nope. All right.
great.
Seeing none, then we can just look at
Yeah.
the, pardon?
Yeah, I can. Oh, I was going to say, yeah, I can keep rolling through. And then if I see somebody's hand raised, I can, if you want, I can take a pause.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
Okay,
So
great. So
rental energy micro grant program.
yeah, so this is a really exciting one. We recently published a microgrant program that would allow currently income eligible rental units to access up to, or I'm sorry, $2,000 in funding to help bridge any gap that incentives don't cover for, mass save qualifying projects that they have going on in that property owners have going on in their rental units. So to be eligible during this period, the applicant must have tenants living in a 2 to 4 unit home. Um, the tenants must have income below 80% area median income, and their project must be eligible for mass save, rebate or incentive. So we're, high efficiency appliances, heat pumps, etc. Out-of-pocket costs must exceed $2,000. We have slots for 25 grants. So the total budget for that piece of the project is 50,000. Outreach has included lots of kind of mixed different media. So we have newsletters, we have community notes going out, we have postcards going out, social media, of course. We also have translated pieces of information going out through the Summer Viva Office of Immigrant Affairs channels, outreach through our community action agencies in Somerville that provide fuel assistance or bridge to fuel assistance. Reddit post through Electrify Somerville, which is great for any folks that are involved in that. A flyer that's been shared with City TV, emails to residents who have previously reached out to our energy advisor, flyers in city buildings, as well as a couple squares in Somerville. So we're currently at 7 property owners who filled out the application form. 4 applications from property owners. I'm sorry, we received 4 applications from 3 property owners that could be conditionally accepted. We think that they meet the criteria, but there's sort of a pre-application phase, and then there's once you submit your interest, there's a couple other things that we need to do, including like having a home energy assessment, those sort of things. The program's also sparked several additional conversations with property owners who've reached out to the energy advisor directly for assistance with questions on home energy, efficiency, decarbonization, etc. So the next thing that we are doing with this program, based on the response and not having received enough applications to distribute available funding, we'll be revisiting the eligibility criteria and considering options for expanding the program in 2026. And we would certainly, we've been brainstorming ideas and have discussed them with the grantors and are in the process of evaluating those now. And this is a great time to welcome some ideas from this group too to see, you know, what ways we could kind of expand the network of folks that might be able to take advantage of this sort of a program. You know, we do need to stay within the intent of our original Mass Clean Energy Center Empowered Grant, you know, um, uh, application, which, you know, prioritized, you know, environmental justice neighborhoods, low-income folks, renters. But we do have an option to, you know, for example, remove the income eligibility piece. Um, you know, for example, if we're staying within EJ neighborhoods, I think another interesting idea, and this has worked for us in the past, and we had really quick uptake in this, is, you know, maybe reducing the amount from $2,000 to lower. So those were just a couple ideas that we that we that have been thrown out so far. Would be curious to hear what you all think. Alexis, go ahead.
I was going to
Alexis, yeah.
ask, how long has the program been open? Because it might also just be that people are still building awareness around it.
Yeah, I think that's certainly true. It's been open for about a month. So it hasn't been that long. You know, Thanksgiving was in the middle of it.
Right.
I think the one thing that we're a little bit concerned about is the timeline, because we know construction projects can sometimes they can take a while. We have heard some recent success stories through the Mass Save program of folks really, you know, moving their project along rather quickly, which is encouraging. But the grant itself, all projects need to be wrapped up by, you know, the end of 2026. So we just want to make sure that we have enough time to go through like the initial application phase. Folks that haven't had a home energy assessment have time to do so. If there's income eligible paperwork, we have time to collect that from folks, and then to actually, you know, find contractors and implement the work. So so I think that's sort of, I guess, the one of the impetus between, you know, thinking about, you know, do we kind of open this up more? But I think what I think that's also a fair point too. If, you know, maybe we keep, you know, maybe we reopen the pool too. At just this limited group too. Does that sound what you're thinking about?
Well, I was curious for this current, you know, initial phase, was there a deadline for the applications at around this part of December?
Yes, it was last Friday.
That's Friday. I thought so. So when you said that you might be, you know, in 2026, it might be an option to maybe relax or modify some of the requirements. Were you mentioning that as part of continuing this, but in a slightly refined way, or as a second phase after this one is completed? In other words, will the application phase essentially get reopened?
Right. Right.
I see.
Go
Any
ahead,
other?
Courtney. Or
Any
sorry,
other?
go ahead, Ramon. Did you have something?
No, I was just saying if anyone else had some questions, or I see Alexis and Courtney have their hands up. I didn't see which one went up first, so.
It goes up in the order. You see it.
Oh,
So I just pulled up the flyer, and I'm wondering if I think it might be helpful if we would just, if you feel like we have time to share it and look at it, because I have a couple of thoughts about what might have made it that people wouldn't have applied. I could either share it or if someone else.
Yeah,
Should I?
that would be great.
Okay.
Or do you have permission? We can.
I'll try and see what happens.
Oh, wow, it worked. Great.
Okay. So as a homeowner, I will look at this and say, I imagine anything that I would have to do an energy project will cost more than $2,000. What is this actually like? Most likely, I know that insulation could be lower. Like, instead of talking about the benefits, I would talk about what they would do with the money.
Mhm.
Like in or like qualified energy products such as XYZ, and we will provide the what's the word I'm looking for? Technical assistance. to help, right? Is that part of what you said? Like, so the benefit isn't just the money, the benefit is also, and we will, because I think it's hard for people to figure out as a homeowner, how do I actually do this? I've said this before here, like even as someone who is tapped in, I find it hard to figure out how to do my own kind of energy retrofit in my own house. Um,
Is there any mention of that in the other? I see there's other pages to the flyer.
those are the translation pages.
Oh, I see. Okay, so it's the same one. All right.
Yeah, that's great feedback.
And you could mention something about like
Some
benefits, but
examples.
I would maybe like minimize some of this stuff and
So you mean some concrete examples of what might be projects
yeah.
that
And
yeah.
would you expect that this should cover, it's a micro grant to cover potentially all of a project or a portion depending on the size, or get you on your way, like get you started, help you, like, should I stop the share for anyone else on?
Sure. No.
Um,
That's a good, yeah, I like that. Like the purpose, kind of state the purpose of it. Like the purpose of this is to bridge the gap between what Mass Save is not, or like other incentives aren't covering for these sort of projects, something like that.
Sorry,
but I
one last
think
thing. Is this the same as the letter that came? I got a letter today.
Oh,
Or is
that
that different now? I didn't
That's
study
different.
it closely
Yeah,
yet.
the letter is just about the Mass Save program. It's through CFP. Sorry, the Community First Partnership. It's really just advertising the Mass Save program, but you can couple both of those
Okay.
together if for folks that qualify.
Alexis, you still had a comment or a question?
Yeah, I think Courtney makes a good point that it's very hard to conceptualize like what the projects are and what you could do, and also like what the typical cost is of some of these projects. Because I think $2,000 is really helpful, but it's also not a lot. And so like setting sort of expectations of like what they can do. And then similarly, the Mass Save programs are also pretty generous when it comes to rental properties as well. And so almost all of that work is like covered at no cost. Think in most communities, if not, well, the income limit that you have is a little bit different. And so some of those things might be covered and other things might not be covered if, depending on what the tenant's income is. But there might be easier swap outs and suggestions that you could make in terms of like high efficiency appliances, for example, and water heating equipment. Those projects are still challenging when it comes to coordination with different contractors and implementing it, but considering a heat pump could be, $30,000 or more, that's just much more challenging to do sort of in this limited time frame. So that's one option, to sort of describe these projects and the different funding sources, and then showing how it adds up to low to no cost with the different funding sources. And then separately, depending on the flexibility of the funding from Mass EC, you might also consider working, and if you find that you're not having high uptake, working with the Community Action Agency to help address deferrals in rental properties, because there are some things that Mass Save funding can do, and there's some things that they can't do. And so a lot of those things that they, or not a lot, but there are some things that the program dollars can't cover when it comes to addressing certain barriers, or the barrier cost is, for example, higher than the energy savings that project would achieve. But if you can supplement with this funding, then they can access other funding sources. So I can talk more about that offline because it's a little complicated and wonky, but that might be another option.
Yeah, I like that. I'm taking a lot of notes too. I think these are really great suggestions. Thank you.
Courtney, you got your hand up again?
Yeah, one more. I'm going to share now the application. I also think if the goal now is an initial application, so when you go to that to get to the application, you have to read through all of this. and it's at the bottom to start. So I think we like people don't need this should be somewhere, but if it's an application, it should be much simpler. Like about the program, there are 4 phases, and initial is here, and then you do have some of the like I think people are busy and all the details are great, and some of it you probably just have to share, like they need to know and you need to be able to advertise it. But I think I might look at this and say, like, overload. I'm going to put this away for later and forget, or like. So I would recommend like putting the application, like maybe putting small things up front, the application link for the initial project, and here's to read more about it, but highlighting some of
Yeah,
this up front.
yeah.
Yeah, or maybe changing like do you think it would be enough to move it to the end? I think like one of the things that we want to make sure is just that people have read like what the process
Yeah,
is, but I think we could either change that to something like maybe there's like a link and we're like confirm that you've clicked on this link, read the thing,
yeah,
and
Right.
sign your name here to certify that or something like that.
yeah. Or like, is there actually? I took this from the email. I hadn't seen it before, but I found my email from being on the Somerville Electrify Somerville. And then it says, so look, you could find the grant here. It's like, this is where I'd almost have it more clickable. Like, this is the information about it. Step well, application form, like 4 phases, and you could click on each one and like jump to the page. But it shouldn't be that the application form is where you're reading about it. That should be, I've read about it, and now I'm just going and I'm filling it. Like, it should be my name. Like, I want that to see it
Right.
the first thing I see. Or like about the program, but you should have been already getting to hear from that about the program page.
Yeah, I tend to agree that not having a multi-page, lots of text be the first thing that you see, but rather to have the key information about the first steps that they take, which is the application, and the key things that examples of what they would be, considering to do, and then maybe having very brief paragraphs about you have to look at this and there's a link and but encouraging or expecting people to have to read it, but to do it as a separate step, so that it's only a small number of pages that they face when they open it up. I agree with that, if it's possible. Anyone else has comments or suggestions? Okay. In that case, still on the updates section, we got 2 more climate ambassadors and the curbside food waste collection pilot.
Thank
And then
Yeah,
we'll open
thank
it up for
you.
the public, for the other attendees to join in if they have any comments, observations.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll be quick. Sorry, I took climate ambassadors out of order, but I'll do rental registry and then curbside. So rental registry, we submitted at the request of the mayor, we submitted the
Right.
ordinance that was updated with tons of community input from, landlords, developers, renters, the commission, and others. So thank you all for any, contributions you've had there. That was submitted to council last Thursday, and it will be taken up in the new year, is our understanding. So more to come there, I'm sure. It'll be referred to the Legislative Matters Committee. And then for the curbside food waste collection pilot, we have 271 households enrolled so far, which is great. Our goal is to get to 1,200. The Mothers Out Front Somerville chapter is going to be distributing door hangers to the pilot neighborhood in East Somerville in January. And other outreach that has been done includes postcard mailers, We also piloted a text alert that went out through the 311 system, which was really exciting. We've never done that in OSE before because we've really transitioned to a serv or are transitioning to a services department, which is exciting through programs like the microgrant program and the curbside composting pilot, which we just have not done in the past. So we're trying these things out and seeing how, success from time in the housing division, on energy efficiency and renewable energy projects kind of translates in like a post-COVID era with the sustainability and environment team. And so we also did press release, social media. We updated the website. We've also conducted outreach at various events like Pumpkin Smash, parent-teacher conference night, winter farmers market, more. And a note on Pumpkin Smash, I don't remember if we shared last time just how much waste was diverted at that one event, but over 2 tons
Wow.
of pumpkins were diverted from the trash to composting. So way to go, everybody. If you came to that event or shared any information about it, I know pumpkins are heavy, but still that's a
A
that's
lot of
pretty
pumpkins.
significant turnout and think it really speaks to, the community's kind of spirit with, these kind of fun events that Somerville puts on and also really, really interested in this opportunity for composting. So we also did a site visit with the city of Cambridge recently to look at their curbside and drop off program. And it was very inspirational. So really looking forward to seeing, all that we can put together in 2026.
Could you give us a quick sense of the outline and schedule for this pilot phase?
Sure. So right now we have and sorry, Kate, I'm speaking, but Kate is the program manager for that. So Kate, feel free to
Oh,
jump in anytime. But the program kicked off in the end of October. The first pickup date was the week after Halloween. And it runs through mid 2027. So we're actively trying to reach the that 1,200 person mark. And we are similarly to the micro grant program, we'll be, kind of identifying, hey, if we don't reach this goal by this date, what does that look like? What does expansion of this program look like? And I'm sure that'll be a conversation that we can have with the commission too at that point.
anyone have a comment or suggestion?
But I thought the pumpkin smash got a lot of great community chatter, even sort of outside the usual suspects. So I think, events like that are sort of like fun and a little bit silly, but also, as you said, Christine, have a really important impact are really great. So fantastic job on that.
Yeah, I want to second that. I just hearing Naomi talk about it at the last meeting. Um, th yeah, I mean, more things like that. That it was fabulous. Just all the feedback I got too, and heard about it, even like kids who had been, and um, yeah, how do we replicate that in around like climate resiliency and make something that often is brings anxiety, to kiddos. Like, how do we make something fun like that that's also preparing them for something that's serious? So I thought it was fabulous.
Right. So one question I had, whenever there's been discussion on, citywide or partially citywide composting and so on, is have there been conversations with the providers of composting in the city, Bootstrap, or I assume there's several, and do they see that as a challenge to their business or cooperations, or have there been discussions or conversations about that?
You mean like if the city were to offer like free drop-off sites and curbside or some sort of discounted program?
Yeah, I mean, would it be in collaboration with current providers of that service, or would they just be displaced gradually, which I'm sure they wouldn't welcome too well?
Oh, I mean, yeah, anybody can sign up for, we can't regulate what like private people do, right? So 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 anybody could choose, any provider that they would like. And we have talked with them. We did a lot of market research over the past couple of years leading up to the launch of the curbside pilot. And now as we are looking to develop a program for the participatory budgeting approved funds for drop-off sites. So that we've contacted vendors, whether it's, on the bin side or the curbside side. We've also spoken with municipalities in the area too, and they've been very generous with all the information that they've provided on both of those ends. So, I think I can't speculate to what a final version of this looks like. I think we're
Right,
using the results of the curbside program to make some informed decisions. I think the number one priority with the curbside program is to make sure that it doesn't have a negative impact on the rodent population, which, by all accounts, it really helps with that and even decrease the costs of, what we spend on with other municipalities, what they spend on like trash disposal, because the cost of disposing trash is more than the cost of disposing compost, so or food waste generally. So I think there's some sort of like big kind of policy decisions to be made there around, where we would want the food waste to go, how we want that program to be structured. Would it be a discount program? Would we be offering something at and what is that discount set at? Would we be offering something at no cost? And I think there's lots of really good questions there, and I think it'll be exciting to dig into that with the commission, especially as we add more people to that too. So a little bit of a non-answer just because we don't have all the answers right now and are still doing some research on it, but definitely something I'm sure. And I guess I shouldn't speak for Kate, but Kate, feel free to jump in if I'm sure it'd be a conversation that Kate and everybody in OSC would be welcome to have with this commission.
yeah. And I mean, I don't know what the experience of other municipalities that have gone, on a big scale on composting related things. But I know that anecdotally, I can say that in the buildings where I live, that there's been a voluntary program with, Bootstrap and it's had a very substantial impact on trash to the degree that people cook a lot, even more. But like I know in my family's case, the trash we take out has gone down almost in half just from the composting. So I think the impact, the potential impact on other aspects of the city, like trash collection, can be noticeable. So that's exciting. Yeah, great. Uh, any other comments? I think we don't have any more guests signed in right now. Is that correct from what I'm seeing?
We do have one member of the public here still.
Ah,
Mhm.
okay. Well, if you would like to join and offer your comments, and suggestions, this is a good time to do it. Or not. All right. So I think we're done with the first section of the meeting. Unless there are any other things to mention right now, I think that the next one that I've been looking forward to is Jason, to hear from you and what you can tell us about the climate work and interest in the student body. And I know that you've been doing curriculum work for quite a while. So please fill us in.
Hey everyone. Yeah, it's a long time coming, Ramon. I know we spoke a while back, and perhaps we should set up a time to share a beverage or coffee or tea or something.
We'd love
But
to do
it's
that.
yeah. Well, thank you all. Yeah, I'll I'll keep it brief. Is it all right if I share my screen? I have a few slides that kind of will give you guys kind of a sense of the timeline and kind of the overview of the work. These slides were pulled from our school committee ed programs presentation that we gave back in May. So just before I start, I've always been passionate about this work just in my own life. And so when this opportunity came across my desk, so to speak, I was super excited and honored, honestly, to take on this work. And it's led to a pretty fabulous cross-sector partnership. I mean, we're talking Office of Sustainability and Environment, right? You guys, higher education from the usual suspects. I mean, we're very lucky in this area, right? Tufts, MIT, Harvard, Lesley University, and BU have all been major players in this work. Our own teams often are the ones really driving some of these efforts. And you'll see some of that, and you'll hear more about it. I'm sure you'll even meet some of them along the way, as either they're joining as youth, as sort of climate ambassadors, or through other mechanisms that we're developing.
Okay.
Okay. So this, go ahead. Do you have a question?
No, it finally showed up.
Okay. So Somerville is unique in that I believe we were maybe not the first, but one of the first districts that where the teachers union actually included language around this work. And so this is really what kind of sparked everything you're about to see and hear. And it's kind of a radical thing that came out of negotiations, and we're going to continue to do the work. A new contract was just signed. While I don't believe there's language quite as specific as this. It was enough to kind of get the ball rolling for us. In fact, Boston now in their new teacher contract has included language like this. And so, in talking with some of our partners in this work, they were super excited that it was codified in this way.
Jason, the fact that it's not in the current contract, does that minimize its likelihood of being like moved ahead and taken seriously? Or was this more just to plan it and then it's assumed it goes forward?
I think it's more of the latter. I'll have to review the contract. I believe some sort of language is included, but I mean, we could look it up right now. I mean, if you look up the SEU Unit A language or contract, I'm sure we could find some sort of whatever they put in there, but it's not something, from what I understand, it's not quite as descriptive as this. Like, by this date, we will provide recommendations.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a fair point, but the difference this time around is we now have 2+ years of work sort of at our backs, and it's set the stage for something that will certainly continue. I think there's enough, there's just so many stakeholders who are now involved in this work that it's kind of just part of the day. And so, I trust that the folks who are doing the bargaining on both sides had this as a part of their thought process. And I feel like the decision they made to include specific language or not doesn't indicate whether or not this will move forward. This work's here to stay. And I think this group in particular, it's exciting to talk with you all and find, what are the other ways that we can pull folks from the community into the work. So what we call 4C, the Climate Change Curriculum Committee, faced a lot of challenges. There's a lot of leadership opportunities in Somerville, in the school district. And so there's lots of demands on teachers after school, in addition to your, the usual workload. Certainly these are some of the other challenges we noticed, just that interdisciplinary work. Often we, in education, we sort of are in our silos. This is math, this is ELA or English language arts, science and social studies, and the other core subjects. But what we know is that life is actually more interdisciplinary. You often aren't kind of stuck in your topic area, and you're, of course, across multiple areas and subject matter that all just sort of feed into your work. And then, of course, the complexity of the topic, but not a challenge we're going to take lightly. And so our key stakeholders, as you might imagine, are all of these folks. All have played substantial roles in moving this work forward. Here's a quick sort of a brief look at the timeline. So the contract went through, I want to say 21, 22. And so the work really didn't get going until January of 23 is when things started to pick up. And we created a pre-committee sort of to put together some work that the eventual committee would do. We had a staff survey. We created the steering committee. And what we found through the experience is that in the past, often groups of teachers, administrators, stakeholders would get together, and it's kind of that same group of 10 to 12 people, and you have a year together, and you execute the different tasks you need to do, and you produce the work. That approach is getting harder in that there are so many of these other opportunities, and a lot of folks are kind of already booked up. So what we ended up actually doing was shifting the model so that basically semester by semester, we had a rotating group, and we felt like that also allowed us to get more perspectives around the table. So we might have a fourth grade teacher in the spring, and then in the fall, we'd have a group of sixth grade teachers who were doing ELA. So it was a rotating cast through the 2 years or so that we had this curriculum committee. So here are just some of the things that we worked on. Our initial cross-sector partnership that was super fun, super exciting was this Climate Palooza event at the Healy. It was during STEM Week. It was October 2023. Some funding fell into our lap, so to speak. Always a great thing. And we turned that around pretty quickly and created something called the Climate Tech Academy, which happened over April break. And that, in some way, was sort of like a grounding phenomenon for us, because it allowed us to pull together a group of 50 or so grade 5 and 6 students. It brought together Lesley University and Tufts University to create these seminars that would happen in the morning. And then in the afternoons, they would apply what they had learned with local community artists and activists, and they created videos and studied about fast fashion and had this whole like art show, and that kind of gave us a project to work on, and from that many other things developed, like our after-school climate clubs that ran at 3 schools last year. We're now hoping to expand to more. Working with Mass Audubon, we went in for this civics grant. While we didn't get the grant in the end, the process of going through that and the proposal we made is now being repurposed in other ways. And then we were invited to MIT's Day of Climate, and the high school students who had created this whole after-school climate club program got to showcase their work. Jaylen Brown from the Celtics was the guest speaker that night, and it was a really fantastic evening. And there's a ton of curriculum now being developed, and so part of our job too is to kind of sort through it all and try to understand what aligns with what we're doing already, because teachers are always getting bombarded with sort of these new initiatives. And so what we've done is really sort of pump the brakes on what we're introducing as the district really shifts to what the Department of Education calls HQIM, or high quality instructional materials. I think for many years, many districts had to create and develop, homegrown curriculum, but we know despite the quality of those materials, they might be excellent, but it also depends on the teacher. If that teacher leaves, often we're left recreating the wheel. And so it's a big financial commitment, but, the district moving now to these research-backed, curricula we're now looking for the entry points for the climate change ed, to make its way into the classroom, or we're making very specific decisions on the certain kinds of texts that we're, folding into the ELA curriculum so that we have these entry points so we can learn more about climate change. The idea is over time, well, actually, hold on a second. I want to go back to this work with Mass Audubon was super important. They helped us understand these core values. Whenever you're working with young students, particularly on the younger side, it's always so important to increase hope and optimism. So what we see often hearing from parents, children, and then high schoolers is just the anxiety around the impacts and the effects of climate change. And so, you're not going to tell a second grader that the world's ending. You're going to focus on this incredible solution that's being developed in your own backyard at Greentown Labs. You're going to focus on, like here, using storytelling and objects of care, keeping it local, simple, and concrete. And so these core values we felt like were really important to sort of create the foundation for the district and for teachers as we start to introduce more climate change education into the classroom. Over the years, we've developed three sort of banks of tools, I'd say. We have this curriculum trajectory that's sort of an ongoing working document. The hope is that, in the next 3 years, we will have opportunities for students in in pre-K all the way through grade 12 to learn about climate change and the impacts and what's being done to mitigate the impacts both locally, regionally, globally. This is where some of you, might even be able to step in and help because there's a couple things we need. One, we need a multimodal approach, right? It can't just be sort of out of the box. Here's a handful of worksheets. Let's learn about this. We need creative ideas. We need people in the community to come in and share their own experiences in this work. Along the way, teachers, students, families, we need what I'm calling like these on-ramps. So basically we're developing these climate 101 lessons that just about every grade level will implement over the course of the next few years. With the hope that by the time this is all rolled out, a student going from pre-K to 12 is going to get all of those pieces along the way. So you're not getting an introductory lesson in 6th grade because you will have already received elements of that introductory lesson sort of building up towards something more. For example, right, I think our most robust, amazing unit right now was developed by Tufts Center for Engineering Education Outreach. And it's 6 weeks, and there's a ton of intro to climate change topics that they're covering that eventually we would like to move out of the 6th grade unit because we would expect students to be getting more of that in the younger grades. But then there's still the element of, you have students who are arriving in your district who are new. Certainly there are newcomers in our district every year, every month, perhaps. And so, just being conscious of that as well. So like what sort of background information will students have coming into the district? So having these sort of 101 resources available to teachers when they need them. But really the goal here is as kids progress, they're getting a little bit more each year. That's in an appropriate, sort of age appropriate way. We have an advisory roster that's growing. This includes community folks, city officials, folks in the education space, both higher ed and public ed. So if there are folks on this call, other people in the city who'd be interested in joining, we'll be having an advisory meeting at some point in the new year as we prepare for sort of our next big endeavor, which really Earth Month. So the month of April really has become the magnet, I think, for a lot of this work. Because we're rolling out new curriculum, it can be difficult to try to, convince curriculum lead folk and teachers to introduce these new topics. So like I said before, as part of that curriculum trajectory, there's a big focus on where it already is happening. Where are we learning about weather? Oh, we're learning about extreme weather. When I was in 4th grade, the type of extreme weather we were learning about was, sure, hurricanes, but there wasn't necessarily the element of climate change. So if that's not being incorporated, what are the ways that we can? So those are the questions we're asking, grade spans and teachers and other curriculum leaders. Is all right, if we're going to be focused on this extreme weather, well, what are the causes of that? Something that Mass Audubon always talks about, which I love, that's very simplified, like wetter wets and hotter hots. And there's a lot of that really great terminology that they've incorporated into lessons with our teachers. So Earth Month, April is going to be a big endeavor this year. The idea is that our after-school climate clubs, which are for grades 5, 6, 7, 8, they're run by high schoolers, but facilitated by classroom teachers. So the classroom teachers are there to sort of make sure everybody's good, but the high schoolers are the ones who are really introducing the content and helping to sort of steer the projects. The hope is that those clubs and the work that's happening in the school day will all sort of coalesce around the city's sustainable festivities in usually late April, early May. And that we'll have some sort of youth climate action summit or celebration that's a part of the city's existing set of events. So we're super excited. More and more teachers every year participate in rolling out the Earth Month resources. So we expect this April to be really just just great participation and I don't well I think let me push us forward here because I know I feel like I could just keep going on and I should speed up here. We don't have to go through these. I can share these slides with you guys, but a snapshot of some of the pilots we did last year that are continuing this year. So these are, we're partnering with Mass Audubon. We don't yet have a full rollout where we see every grade level is doing a project like this. So it's still happening in pockets, but it's starting to, solidify more across each grade level. We have a new common planning time mechanism that allows for grade level teams to get together more regularly. And that's where we've been working really closely with teachers across grade levels to introduce new content like this. This is the Tufts pilot that we did. The expectation this year is that nearly all of our sixth grade teachers will be rolling this out. Chelsea Andrews and Kristen Wendell are the team over at the Center for Engineering Education Outreach. They are professors, and they're working with grad students to roll this out across the district. This is by far our most robust and most excellent climate unit that we have in the district. And we're really excited about ways that we can expand this. These students then went to Tufts in May, I want to say, or early June, and they did an entire full day of presentations. I mean, it was incredible. And so it's one of the things we're super proud about. I mentioned these climate club pilot that will expand later this year. And then next wave full circle, our alternative high school and middle school. Erica Riddington is doing a ton of incredible stuff and has connected with the city in multiple ways. And her kiddos are doing some really great things. And the last thing I'll share, and there's so much more to talk about, but we had a senior last spring conduct a survey, which I thought was really fascinating and worth sharing. And he's certainly given his blessing to share this data in this way. You'll see it was quite a range. We had almost 100 responses, or he did, and it was quite a range of students who participated in terms of their grade level. This is what students were saying in terms of what kind of climate change related material was being taught in mandatory courses, think English, biology, US history, that sort of thing. And here's the demand, which I think is pretty fascinating. And so we're working with high school staff, we're working with students to try to figure out ways to incorporate more climate change education into these mandatory classes versus just offering them as electives so that, a handful of students can participate. some ideas have come up, like especially in April, having like a full day of climate ed where every single class at the high school is looking at climate change in one way or another as related to the class that they're teaching. So if you're teaching French, or if you're teaching a health class, or if you're in PE, or if you're in an English class, like everything is sort of revolves around climate change. And so that, I mean, to do something that ambitious would definitely require the support of folks like you. And so I'm really interested in setting up sort of a follow up with folks here to talk about ways that we might be able to do something on that scale. Here are some open response um, trends that that the students shared. Strong call to include climate justice and environmental racism in the curriculum with emphasis on local relevance to Somerville. Again, some of the big barriers are the nature of high school classes, certainly like AP classes, which are sort of have a very, very rigid sort of schedule. But that doesn't mean we can't find ways to incorporate this. More hands-on, action-oriented learning. Some of these things are happening. And like, for example, the student-led climate clubs and the work we're doing with middle grades. But there's definitely, when you talk to high school students, there's a lot that, about how climate change can be overwhelming or depressing, comparing it to end times, right? That anxiety. So how do we showcase and all of the things that folks are in fact doing and working on, and the solutions that are being created right in our own backyard. I always, I bring up form energy as often as I can to young folks, and how the process of rusting can be turned into energy is just incredible. And here it is in our backyard, being developed. And so trying to pull Greentown Labs and other folks like that into the high school. We're setting up a couple of different visits for them in January. And so we're definitely building a stronger partnership with them and other groups like them. And I'll just share some of these representative quotes. Education about important worldwide issues is integral to becoming an adult. And I'll just share, here's some pictures of our kiddos at the Day of Climate. And I'll share this video with you guys. It's about 5 minutes long. I certainly won't play it right now, but this is just a video of Jaylen Brown with it's just a highlight of the Day of Climate. It was pretty incredible. In fact, Naima Sait, who's a representative in Somerville, who was a French teacher actually at the high school, helped get this work off the helped get some of that work off the ground back when she was teaching at the high school. It was pretty awesome. It was very like full circle for her to be teaching at Somerville High, to be on the negotiations team, like pushing for this work, and now being a city councilor, and then seeing her at this event talking about the work in Somerville, and then having our high school students, and they all sort of meet and cheer and high five. So it was definitely a great sort of opportunity for the schools. So honestly, I feel like I'm going way over here. Some of the recommendations that we made to the school committee includes this year-long focus, which we're doing now with grade 5, actually. And we're working with a grade 7-8 team to add a specific school in April, May at the East Somerville to bring this sort of interdisciplinary approach, across all the core 4 subjects, and just trying to figure out ways to build in these training modules and opportunities for educators across all grade levels, just so that people have at least a set of common ideas and language to use when trying to incorporate these into their classroom. I'm sorry, I feel like I've gone way over. I'm going to stop There's so
Wow.
much more I would love to share with you guys.
Uh,
I really want to highlight this year's group. We have a crew of about 20 high schoolers who all got trained up with Mass Audubon, went into fifth grade classrooms to prepare them for STEM week. Then the grade 5 teachers did this multi-day storm drainage project that was also something out of Tufts. And so Emily Sullivan and Naomi Gross and others actually were in classrooms working directly with kids. It was pretty wild. So that so far has been the highlight for me, our STEM week collaboration this year. So there's if you can imagine, there's more. And so I'd be happy to put together something a little bit more robust for you guys to comb through with a little more detail. And please, I would love to follow up with you all to figure out ways in which we can work together on this going forward.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, man. That was really good, and I think it'd be great if the slides can be posted in a way that we can access to it, because obviously there's a lot of text that we would benefit from reading more carefully.
Sure.
Uh, I think this is a great opportunity from several angles. One is that to the degree that we're going to have students in our commission being familiar with all this that you're presenting is really crucial. And I can only imagine all the work that's gone into being able to parse the material that's appropriate for the different grade levels and working with the teachers. I mean, it's just a huge endeavor that I'm glad to see the progress. So I think, I mean, I'll let others comment. I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to you being here with us, because I think, like you said, there's a lot more conversation to be had. So thanks, I appreciate it. But I'll let others comment.
Yeah, I second all that, Jason. This is really exciting. I heard you say that Boston, was Somerville the first to kind of move forward with this, and Boston copied us, but do we know of other, or not copy, but is trying to kind of use some of what you've learned? But are we really the only district kind of moving ahead with something of this nature?
Not
Broadly?
my guess is no. I think it's across. I think districts are tackling it in all different ways. I think what is unique about Somerville is that it was included in the teacher's contract language. I think a lot of districts put together all kinds of initiatives, but to have the teacher's contract specifically say we're going to tackle this and we need to hold ourselves and the district accountable, I think is what was unique about Somerville. And I think there are other districts now who've followed that lead.
Great. And is your position, did it come out of that contract requirement, or was it already in place?
My role in the district, so I've been in this role now for 10 years, and what often happens is as things bubble up to the surface, sometimes they just get handed to me. A lot of my role is sort of anchored in STEM, particularly K-8 STEM, with some high school work as well. And so climate change sort of is thought of as this STEM topic, which we know, of course, it's much wider than that. It's across all things. And when it didn't really have a home and it was within this contract, I sort of stepped up and said, "Hey, look, I will try to help shepherd this along as best I can." And it just turned out to be, and then it sort of became a part of my day to day, which is great because it does overlap with a lot of the digital literacy and computer science and the science, tech, and engineering frameworks that I support teachers with anyway. In fact, that's really kind of the push. I think this year is there's just not a lot of time to integrate computer science and digital literacy as like topics to cover. It kind of happens naturally depending on sort of the environment in the classroom, but climate change education, computer science, and science, tech, and engineering, I think there's something in between, like that connects all three of those things. And if we could have a unit per grade level that incorporated those three things, I think we'd be in pretty good shape. Where students are using some sort of microcontroller or some sort of device that they can do a very basic code, put together a basic code that collects some data about the temperature outside or something. It doesn't have to be incredibly complex, but I think there's like a through line there to kind of incorporate all of those different elements. And so that's part of my role, is to try to imagine that and work with stakeholders. And some of that's happening already in pockets, like at an MIT or at Tufts. And so working together with them to be like, hey, wait, actually, let's use this in grade 4, and we're going to take this and put it in grade 6, um, is a good problem to have. Like we're almost sort of saturated with resources and ideas in this area. So it's like we better find all the great ones and lay them all out in a menu for teachers and parents and families and folks to engage with. So
Well, this is great. Anybody else have a comment? I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean, I know we're short on time, so I'll just say really quickly, echo the comments of Ramon and Courtney. So appreciative of the creativity and the just getting it done. I would love to hear more about how we as a commission can help. So certainly we'll take you up on that offer. And even if, you know, one-on-ones or, follow up by meeting isn't work, even if you just sort of list out some things that you could use support from us on, that would be great.
anyone else? I mean, I also think that, for the commission and OSC, I imagine as well, we've been increasingly focusing on schools from the building side of things, right? The energy side and the emission side, which makes sense. But the buildings are not empty most of the time. I mean, it's what's inside the buildings that makes the most sense, and it's the next generation. So I think it's just a confluence of priorities is fantastic. So I'm looking forward to it. Christine, you have a hand up.
Yeah, no, I think that's really well said, Ramon, too. Yeah, I think, the best like return on investment I think we can get is investing in education and in the buildings that the students do the learning in. So yeah, and hats off to Jason too. He's really he's done so much with his role. And I love how you described it, Jason, as sort of like things float up and then they find their way to you, but you really do turn them into gold. So thanks for everything you've done. And yeah, and I'm glad that Jason mentioned the climate anxiety piece, because that is something that I heard recently at a subcommittee meeting for the city council, and it was echoed around particularly around the topic of food waste and how children really, they feel like emotional hurt when they can't compost, or they can't, dispose of food waste in another way, or they can't recycle or something like that. And, or, when they have styrofoam that they're using, and then, some kids are like we've heard stories of like some kids collecting it and taking it home because they
Right.
don't know what else to do. And I think that that's where the climate anxiety really bears out. And when I heard that, I thought of a couple things. As one, we can certainly, be doing more to provide options for that. And I'm glad that we had the opportunity to go tour Cambridge's cafeterias and see what their system is, because it was really inspirational. And I definitely think it's something we could replicate here and should. But there's but then there's this other component of the curriculum and how we are talking to children about climate change and what it means and what their responsibility is in this and what their role is, and how to cope with some of those feelings. And I providing support for educators to be able to facilitate those conversations and to even process their own grief too, or their own anxieties about that. um I feel like it's so important, and it's such a necessary part of this, and thinking through like how to talk about it sensitively. I've been that student in classes, and yeah, I would so I definitely I really like empathize with that too. And to Ramon's point, all schools, really exciting news. I know we talked about the comprehensive building assessments that are being completed. So through both programs, the house doctor contract, they're taking on 4 schools. That's currently happening now. Um, and then we're doing an engineering study, and that's starting tomorrow for uh, 5 other schools. So all schools will have studies completed by April of this year. So that's our goal at least. So I think we're on the right track. That is like now the standard practice for all kind of state utility programs around building updates for weatherization, decarbonization, electrification. So I think we're really on the right path here. And yeah, thanks again to Jason for working with Naomi and Emily and the OSE team to put together such incredible programming.
Yeah, I really
Yep.
want to highlight Emily specifically last year. I know Naomi's joining us this year, but some of the gold you're talking about is directly because of Emily's incredible work ethic and professionalism and just keeping us on task because I get pulled in 18 other directions. And so, you know, it's a great example of the cross sector work that I would love to do more of. And so when you talk about these studies of schools, I think it'd be exciting for kiddos like fifth graders to be like, hey, that's my school.
Yeah.
Hey, wow, we generate X thousand, whatever, yada yadas per what's
Yeah.
it, it's like there are ways for us to
Yeah.
incorporate that into the curriculum. It's like, let's take a look at the West, Somerville, and our electric bill. Like, whoa,
Yeah.
what do you think that, and why is it that the high school's bill is 10,000 times? Oh, well, maybe,
Yeah.
anyway, I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of rich stuff like within the walls that we could be talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think as we work more closely with you guys and the engineers and whatnot, like even talking with one of the folks who works on storm drains, he said, "Hey, next year, I'll absolutely help out with that storm drain lesson. That sounds great." It's exciting to develop those partnerships and sort of build on what we've done. So.
Wow, this is fantastic. I mean, I'm mindful of the time, but I'm really glad that we had the time to give you ample introduction, and I can see that there's going to be a lot more conversation. So having you on participating with us, I think it's great for you and for us. So that's great. I don't know if there are any other comments or if there are other guests that might be around has something to add. Um, if not, we have a final quick topic maybe that we can speed up through, uh, which is a mention of the website, the Climate Action Commission website update. And then we had talked about, we had shared the potential schedule for meetings for next year.
Mhm.
Whichever way you
Yeah.
think we can use the next several minutes to wrap up with that.
Do people have a couple more minutes after 8:30 that they can stick around
I
or
have to leave at
okay.
8:30.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I do as well.
What'd you say, Eliza? Sorry.
Unfortunately, I do as well. I have to hop at 8:30.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so it looks like we can't go past 8:30, which is okay. I want to just flag I've neglected to mention that Kate and Naomi have put together a draft outreach plan for open climate action commission positions, and we have at least 2 of those that will be designated for youth members. So for what that's worth too, if folks have ideas for how to expand on that, that is attached to the agenda. So please feel free to reach out to us. We can also discuss that more at the January meeting.
Yeah.
I know we talked about that earlier. I think we can also talk through the CAC. If folks are okay with it, maybe we pin that until January and then we pin the CAC website update to
Yeah.
January. And I'll just note that on that. If you check out the website, somervillema.gov/ I think it's still CEUCC for now. I don't think we changed the URL just quite yet. I could be wrong.
We actually have both of them. So if you do
Right.
CAC or CE,
Yeah, there's a link
you
to the new one that I've already glanced at. So
yeah,
you can share
Great.
both. Yeah.
use either URL and it'll take you to the same website. So it's ready to go once we are officially the Climate Action Commission.
Yeah.
Great. Amazing. Thank you. Uh, so we started to update the website a little bit, but it could definitely use some more juicing up. So we can definitely talk more in January about what that looks like. And then Kate also put together a list of the meeting schedule for 2026 so that we can start planning. And if you're looking at it and there's any dates that immediately stick out to you as those aren't going to work for you, that's a conversation that we can have.
I have a conflict on the second Tuesday in January. So
Okay. Okay, good to know. Yeah, thanks for letting us know. And we can follow up with folks after that. Maybe we can send out a poll or something and see if there's another Tuesday or if just to ensure that we have quorum that day.
Yeah.
You know.
Are synced. I also had a conflict with that Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we'll check with Larry
Yeah.
and see what we
Yeah.
can do there.
Yeah. No,
Um
I'm glad one of the links in the agenda was to actually see, because it's easy to say the second Tuesday of every month, whatever, but it's really nice to see it in an what number of each month is the second Tuesday and all that. So I was able to go through my whole calendar already and through that. So thanks for that.
yeah.
Well, I think if we don't have any other we can take up some of those things in greater detail next month. But other than that, any final observations or comments? Aside from thanking Jason once again.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
any comments from members of the public? Great. Well,
Okay.
thank you all for being here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know people have kind of a hard stop. I do have some news to share with folks. If I can steal 1 minute of your time.
sure.
I did so as this is a very natural thing to happen during mayor transitions, but won't I won't be serving as the director of the office after
Mm.
January 15th. So I just wanted to let folks know and just let you guys know that's been like such an honor to work with you and serve in the position. And yeah, my last meeting with the commission will be the January meeting, assuming that we do it within the first couple weeks of the month. But yeah, just wanted to thank you all for everything. And we'll certainly, I'll touch base with folks, over, email and stuff, and we'll, exchange info. But hope we can stay connected and yeah, just really celebrate all of the work that the commission has done and all of the really exciting things that are in the future too. So yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for the last few years at OSC as it's gone through an incredible transition. So
Oh,
it's a two-way thing. So thank
thank
you.
you. It's a great team. Thank you. It really is a wonderful team, and I'm so grateful and impressed and just yeah, humbled by the talent on the team. So you you're in good hands, and it's a really exciting time. So yeah,
Good.
thank you all.
Thanks for sharing.
Of
Yeah,
course, of
thank
course.
you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, I will
Okay. All
I'll
right.
let
Well,
you have your evenings back.
thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, sounds good. Take care. Bye, guys.
Bye.